Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I am also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to go over how I believe it can help individuals get over their ex, what I think might be beneficial. And I think breaking up the breakup in of itself in stages and processing each stage can really help to slowly get over an ex. Breakups can be shocking. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere. And so the very first stage is intense shock. It's based on that intense shock, right? Sometimes, even if you're expecting it somewhere in your subconscious, still the breakup in of itself can be very shocking. And so this is the first stage, and that involves that intense shock and also emotional turmoil. Sometimes you're very confused. You may start feeling very low of yourself. You might feel unattractive. You might feel like the breakup actually kind of shatters your world, right? Some people call this like a shattering stage. It kind of alters your life, especially if children are involved, especially if you guys live together. Maybe if you guys are long-term together, maybe you've been balancing finances, connecting those finances. It could be that you guys have had rituals together. And so a lot of times this can feel like emotional injury affecting your self-esteem. It can cause even symptoms like insomnia. I've seen digestive issues. I've seen anxiety, of course, a depressive episode. It may even trigger some of the past trauma you may have. If you have PTSD, you may start having flashbacks that are not correlated, but because that initial shock, you're so emotionally hurt that you're starting to remember all the hurt that you've had. And that does happen, unfortunately. But as the stage progresses, you'll start seeing these symptoms go back to how it was previously to the shock. However, one thing that can help you start processing this stage is letting yourself actually process that intense shock without trying to block it. If you need to take a day or two off of work and that's feasible for you, I would very much recommend that, even longer if you have to, whatever it may be. I would also suggest you trying to journal or talking it out with somebody to really recognize what's truly happening, okay? The next one is truly after that initial shock. We start seeing many individuals experiencing withdrawal, right? From that relationship. You might see the yearning for connection. You might start feeling that loss of belonging. You might start feeling that emptiness, recollection. You might start remembering. I've had a patient say that they literally sometimes feel their partner's presence in their bed, even though they're no longer there, right? You're starting to remember that feeling and that passing. And this part is very hard for a lot of people. This one, I would say, is one of the stages that is the most difficult. And it's because you're actually very acutely aware that you are missing your partner, okay? And that is why the next stage is denial. A lot of times this is very difficult to process for even people who are very healthy and grew up in very healthy homes. It's very difficult to process this particular part of the withdrawal, which is why next is denial. And so you might internalize these feelings. You might blame yourself for the breakup. You might also start having negative beliefs of yourself, and you may also have this false belief where you start believing they may come back, and sometimes they do. And you may struggle to differentiate the reality as well as the beliefs you're battling with. I would recommend that if you're in the stage of denial, accept both sides. Recognize it's possible your partner can come back. It's possible that it never will. It's possible that it's your fault. It's also possible it's not your fault. Sometimes that uncertainty is what puts you in this stage. Recognize it probably is a plethora of different variables, and that doesn't mean you could really control it. When something happens, it just happens. Radical acceptance might be very helpful in this stage as well. Starting to really recognize it's okay to not know the future. It's okay to not know what's going to happen next. And sometimes recognizing, let's say you really do genuinely believe it's your fault, it's okay too. As if you're the first person that's had a reason that an ex left them. Every person is so unique and specific. We can't always understand how the other person feels until it's too late, and that's okay too. The next one is actually some sort of emotional surplus. Typically, it's going to be anger and irritation, right? We're seeing that anger can sometimes be destructive if it's repressed or suppressed, right? And you might actually direct it at others. And it can be important to channel this actually in a positive way. If you're having that emotional surplus, I would recommend engaging in more healthy activities. I really think exercise is a great one. Connecting with friends, it may actually help to actually sit down and reevaluate actually what happened in the relationship. So you can kind of reclaim your self-worth, but also recognize that all relationships are good and bad. Don't start thinking that because the relationship ended, there was nothing good about it. Recognize what you learned from it, both good and bad. Maybe you learned how to love, maybe you learned how to be more open, but you also realize, okay, next time, if my partner is doing X, Y, and Z, I should start recognizing that's probably a red flag. Whatever you guys need to do, of course, that's just an example, but starting to recognize that this is something that you probably could not control, but also to recognize you can learn from this so that your next relationship, you might have an even better footing, right? And you want that, right? Having a breakup doesn't mean you wasted your life and your time. A lot of people think that way. Has benefits. We can't see these types of resumes, but if you had a long relationship for 7 years and you broke up, of course, you have a long resume of all the things in a relationship so that you can be more beneficial to the next. You have experience, right? So you can add that to the next relationship. The next stage is gentle processing and accepting. Starting to accept that the relationship is probably over, right? And that it could be time to start looking in another direction. Starting to recognize it's time to move on. Starting to recognize that it's okay if your relationship is over and you may never be reintroduced to that person romantically again. And the last one is improve. You start seeing an improved emotional state. You're starting to realize a sense of lightness, a genuine healing, and you start recognizing it's very authentic. You're not avoiding or disconnecting the feelings. You are accepting them and recognizing that it's time to move on and that you can probably meet somebody new and you're happy, okay? And so those are some of the ways that I feel like can help somebody get over their ex, okay? I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.